Right, we're recording. Hello, my name is Helga Casey, and I'm one of your internal OSU EAP counselors. Thank you for attending today's webinar. The Employee Assistance Program is always happy to partner with YP4H and Virgin Pulse to bring you this Stress We Need to Talk 4-part series, where we've been talking about stress. We've been exploring ways to get a handle on the stressors in our professional and personal lives. And we've been learning, or at least refreshing our understanding about how the stress cycle works, how the brain and body respond to stress, and most importantly, how we can manage our perception and responses to stress. Here we go. As we've been doing, we like to do a little recap from last week. And the question is, did you have an opportunity to check out your Myers-Briggs personality type and how it may influence your experience of stress and potential stress relief strategies? So if you haven't done that already, the previous recordings have that information. I will also send out a lovely email to our registrants with all those resources and the PowerPoints again. So no need to sift through your old stuff. If you're seeing this as a recording, just go back onto the webpage and go check out the previous recording for week 3. All right. So our goals for today is I'm going to do a little story time for you, as well as we're going to talk about the nerve, that pesky vagus nerve, and as well as we're going to do a series recap. So here we go. Would you rather be the carrot, the egg, or the coffee bean? So the story goes something like this. A young woman went to her mother and told her about her life and how things were just so hard and stressful for her. She didn't know that she was going to make it. She was just not feeling it and wanted to give up. She was tired of fighting and struggling, and it just seemed like one problem, sure, it might have gotten solved, but a cavalcade of more problems and stress were right there to follow. Her mother took her to the kitchen and she filled 3 pots of water. And in the first pot, she placed the carrots. In the second pot, she placed the eggs. And in the last pot, she placed the ground coffee beans. She let them sit and boil without saying a word. In about 20 minutes, she turned off the burners. She fished out the carrots, placed them in a bowl. She pulled the eggs out, placed them in a bowl, and then ladled the coffee into a bowl. Turning to her daughter, she asked, "Tell me what you see." Well, her daughter's all like, "I see carrots, eggs, and coffee, Mom. This isn't that big of a, what are we doing here?" So Mom brought her daughter closer and asked her to feel the carrots. The daughter did and noted that they were soft and a little mushy. She then asked her to take the egg and break it. And after pulling off the shell, she observed the hard-boiled egg. Finally, she asked her to sip the coffee. Oh boy, did that daughter smile as she tasted its rich aroma and delicious coffeeness. And the daughter then asked, "What's the point, Mom?" Her mother explained that each of these objects had faced the same adversity and stressors, the boiling water, but each reacted differently. The carrot went in strong, hard, and unrelenting. However, after being subjected to the boiling water, it softened and became weak. The egg had been fragile. Its thin outer shell had protected its liquid interior, but after being through the boiling water, its inside became hardened. And the ground coffee beans, well, those were unique. After they were in the boiling water, they actually changed the water. So Mom asked her daughter, "Which are you? When adversity or stress knocks on your door, how do you respond? Are you the carrot, an egg, or a coffee bean?" So that's kind of what you want to think about is, which am I? As if I'm the carrot, I might seem strong, but with pain, adversity, and a lot of stress, am I going to wilt and become soft and lose my strength? Am I the egg that starts out with a malleable heart, but changes with the heat? Did I have a fluid spirit, so to speak? But after a death, a breakup, a financial hardship, some major stressors, or some other trial of life, have I become hardened and stiff? Does my shell look the same, but on the inside, am I bitter and tough with a stiff spirit and a hardened heart? Or am I like those lovely coffee beans? where the bean actually changes the hot water, the very circumstance that brings the pain. When the water gets hot, it releases the fragrance and the flavor. If you're like the bean, when things are at their worst, you get better and change the situation around you. So when you think about when the hours are the darkest and the stress is at its most and the greatest, are you elevated to another level? Basically, are you the carrot, the egg, or the coffee bean? My hope is throughout this series, you've collected some more ideas on how to be the bean, okay? We want you to learn how to adapt and moderate and accommodate and learn and grow and maintain your health through the stressors. They're just going to come, it's life. There's a lot of uncertainty, there's things that come at us. So maybe when you think about this in the future, kind of ask yourself, what am I doing right now? Am I beaning it up? Am I making some coffee? That might be a way for you to think about this stress series and just your response to stress and adversity. I am going to switch gears completely because you know what we're going to talk about? The Las Vegas nerve. I always think about Las Vegas when I hear the vagus nerve, okay? I'm sorry, forgive me. It was the last episode. I had to have some fun with it. So let's talk about this vagus nerve. So probably a lot of you have heard about it. You're all learned folks. So let's just do a refresher. The vagus nerve is the body's most extensive and complex cranial nerve, linking the brain with all essential organs. It originates in the brainstem and runs through the neck and the throat all the way down to the abdomen. It's also known as the wandering nerve, and it's the longest nerve pathway in the body. It's the main component of the parasympathetic nervous system, which is responsible for our rest and digest. So great, Helga, lots of science. Don't worry, I'm going to go somewhere with it. Just follow me. The parasympathetic system is the system that supports us in chilling out, centering, calming ourselves, as well as digesting our food, lowering blood pressure, having a healthy reproductive system, balancing those fun hormones, and helping our lungs breathe freely, and honestly, total body healing. The vagus nerves, one of the vagus nerves' many jobs is to reset the immune system after a stress response. It's essential for us to recover from trauma, stress, survival states, bringing us back into connection, rest, and equilibrium in our body and brain. So that's why we're talking about the vagus nerve, okay? And I literally just said the same quote from Kimberly Schmidt-Bevins, who is a licensed mental health counselor. There's also emerging research that suggests that vagal stimulation, so stimulating the vagus nerve, can help treat conditions as varied as depression, anxiety, and even the all fun inflammatory bowel disease. That was just a little note to self, thought you'd like that. So this vagus nerve, if we stimulate it, we can actually help us recover from those stress and survival states that we were talking about in episode 1 with the stress response cycle, right? The external stressor, internal stressors, the physiological responses, and then the internalization, like heck, we're stressed. And then that last piece where we complete the cycle with coping. So the vagus nerve can be a part of that coping strategy. So let's stimulate this nerve, okay? Like we said before, the vagus nerve is a critical component of the parasympathetic nervous system. It's the soothing counterpart of the flight or fight sympathetic nervous system. The vagus nerve helps you remain calm when you are stressed and to know where you are no longer in danger. And it helps us do that rest and digest, like I said earlier. And typically, if you're not in a great place emotionally, you are either in that fight or flight, okay? So we're either fighting Darth Vader or we're flying away. Got it? Thank you for amusing me with my Star Wars stuff. Or we are in the parasympathetic freeze mode where we're like, oh my Lanta, I can't even move because of that stress. So that vagus nerve can help us remain calm and balance out those natural responses. I know, it's amazing. The reason why I bring this up is because this is a big piece about stress and how our body reacts to it. But also, I've wanted this series to depersonalize some of your response to stress. Us as humans, we will say, like, I'm not handling my stress well. And then we start judging ourselves. There's no need to. We need to look at ourselves as full and complete bodies and brains and spirits and minds, that we are responding reasonably given how our body functions in these states. And so when we know about some of these concepts throughout the series, it helps us go, okay, so I'm stressed, this is unpleasant, what can I do? And that's what this is. So let's stimulate that dang dirty vagus nerve. We're going to do that through first maybe trying to use cold, whether that's cold water, cold exposure, going outside and getting that coolness, like in winter or in fall, maybe splashing some cold water on your face, maybe putting in ice cubes in a Ziploc bag against your vagus nerve and your neck. That can also really help you calm down. It's also known as the diving reflex. And the diving reflex slows your heart rate, increases your blood flow to your brain, and can reduce anger and relax your physical body. Also, once again, us therapists and mindfulness people, we love that stinking breathing, right? Because there's science behind it. And part of that science is that dang dirty vagus nerve. So that deep and slow breathing can really help lower your heart rate and your blood pressure. When that happens, the focus of the brain gets away from that fight or flight, right? Our Darth Vader, Luke Vader shutdown, or our Han Solo, let's fly away the Millennium Falcon. And it gets us more to focus in the front of the brain, which is that neocortex. In that neocortex is your logic center. And you're able to get to make decisions, not based off of the fear response, but based off your logic. Also, this is awesome, humming, chanting, singing, and even gargling water can help you get with that vagus nerve stimulation. Don't you always feel better when you start to hum or sing? Maybe the people around you don't love it, but it helps you. Your kind of worries are swept away either by the song or the rhythm. Well, that's because it's activating your vagus nerve. Simply sing to feel better, or even if you want to gargle some water. I know that sounds odd, but it works. Probiotics. Remember that vagus nerve goes all the way to the abdomen. Okay, so researchers have been telling us that gut bacteria improves brain function by activating the vagus nerve. So probiotics can be helpful. I am not a medical doctor, so I'm not telling you to take probiotics. Please consult your primary care physician. Thank you. Moving forward, there's also meditation and mindfulness. That also gets into that vagal tone and can reduce that response to fight or flight. What I like to tell my clients is it builds the gray matter in your brain, and it kind of puts a pause button on your reactivity. And when we think about anxiety, that's activated, right? It's reactivity. So this really does help you kind of slow down and have a natural pause button or a hold button so you can have some time to respond rather than react. Additionally, positive self-talk. So all this information are from those two links on the bottom of the page. From one of the articles, Christopher Berglund says that he uses Cora Harris's mantra to stimulate his vagus nerve, which is, the bravest thing you can do when you are not brave is to profess courage and act accordingly. This honestly can produce that positive self-talk even when you're feeling afraid, and it helps you act in accordance with your affirmation. So positive self-talk, I like to say accurate self-talk, and those kinds of mantras can really be helpful in helping manage that fight, flight, or freeze response in the back of your brain, responding to fear. So of course, we got to have some recommendations from Helga and Brutus. As you all learn, you learn differently. So I wanted to mix it up a little bit with resources. This is a great, quick YouTube video from this particular doctor. And please forgive me, I forgot his name. I will include him and you'll have all the links. And it's really neat about the vagus nerve and de-stressing your brain. He also offers a lot more suggestions than just what I have listed in the previous slide. These two articles below by Forbes and Well and Good are also chock full of explaining the vagus nerve and those ideas and suggestions for stimulation. And a lot of this, just like this series, is pick and choose what works for you. This is not a one size fits all. Hey, counseling isn't a one size fits all. So find out what really spoke to you during this series and start implementing those perspectives. So this is if you want some more research or some different information about the vagus nerve, or what I like to call the Las Vegas nerve. I had to do it. All right, moving forward. Let's do our review. Thank you for being here for these 4 weeks with this series. Believe it or not, it's helped me learn some more about stress and managing it, as well as being more mindful to complete my stress cycle. So let's do the series recap. In our first week, we figured out what stress was, right? Because it refers to two things: that psychological perception of pressure, as well as the body's response to it. So that's really important. And it's where that psychological perception is, that's where we have some movement. Looking at the stress response cycle, we start with the external stressors, all the craziness we've been experiencing these past few years. Then it kind of translates into internal stressors. We have a physiological response. We could be wearing our shoulders as earrings, right? We're totally stressed. Our little trappies are trapping the stress. It could be gastrointestinal distress, whatever it is. You might be getting hot, maybe flushed cheeks, maybe you're fisting your hands like this because you're getting very uptight about all of this. But our brain hasn't quite necessarily translated that to us in emotion. That happens in the internalization phase. That's when we're really recognizing, whoa, I'm stressed. The problem with the internalization piece, us as humans, we love to slap that judgment on it. That's what I was talking about earlier. And that's what I want this series to help you, is to stop the judgment. Know your information, realize this is natural, this is how our brains and bodies work, and what we can do about it. And that's when we get to the coping. We need to complete that stress cycle. Remember, we've got movement, creativity, laughter, crying it out, getting some affection, deep breathing, and rest. And it's interesting, yes, that some of this is similar to stimulating that vagus nerve. It's by design, guys. All of this has got the science behind it. In week 2, we talked about the perceptions of pressure and time that add to our experience of stress. So it could be maybe the pressure to be something or someone, the pressure to act or perform in a way, the pressure to adapt, or the expectation that we think, whether that's self-imposed, societal, or environmental. And it could be an accurate expectation or pressure, or we may have distorted it a bit. That does happen. And then our own prediction of time, how much things take, right? And then the attitudes of time, which we get a lot from our culture. I had a training earlier today and they were a few minutes late. I'm good with it. You're coming to work. Things happen. 3:15 is just super fun. It's all right. I'm okay with that. But they came up to acknowledge that they were late, which I appreciated, but that's our culture in the work world, is we got to be on time. And that's that different. So they felt that pressure probably coming in that they were running a little late. And then time perspective. How long do we really think something's going to take? Think back to my conversation when I'm like, oh, I don't like doing my clinical documentation. It's going to take forever, so I'll just avoid it. Not so great, right? Because I thought it was going to take me all this time to do it. But when I stopped and did a true evaluation of how long it takes me 6 minutes about to do a regular note. The Helka has 6 minutes. So that's something too for you to kind of challenge that time perspective. And the takeaway kind of skill that we gave you in week 2 was that pause. When you start to feel that pressure, kind of take in some breath and do a little self-inventory. Ask yourself, what am I feeling? What am I thinking? What pressure or expectation am I perceiving that I'm reacting to? And then asking ourselves, how do I want to respond? In week 3, we brought it home with personality types because we get some information about how we orient ourselves in the world, how we perceive information, how we make decisions, and kind of what we need. All right, that's kind of the extrovert, introvert, sensing, intuition. That's how we get our information, thinking and feeling. It's how we make our decisions, and judging, perceiver. That's kind of where we want to go with this. And for me, I said before, I'm a judger. I like to have some finality. I like to have some conclusion or set a precedent. And it's really hard. Like if somebody leaves a meeting and I don't have my to-do task list from that meeting, I feel a little weird. Doesn't feel good for me. Feels very unpleasant. So what I've learned to do a lot of times is do a quick summary at the end of my meeting to know what my role is or what the decision was or the precedent moving forward. That's really helpful. The thing about this is knowing your personality type. There's a lot of resources I provided to you that also talk about how these personality types experience stress and some specific stress relief suggestions that might be helpful for your personality type. So I still highly encourage you to check it out. And then today, Viva Las Vegas nerve. We've learned that there's an actual nerve that goes head to abdomen that really does have to do with our soothing and comfort and how we can stimulate that in those moments of stress or when our brains realize, yo, I'm experiencing some of the stress. So that's something I want you to think about and also try some of those tactics. And you probably already do. How many of you, after maybe having a tough conversation, or you need to kind of get yourself together to go on to the next task, you decide to go splash some water on your face? That's that. Your body's already been wanting to do this. Now you know, so you can be more intentional about that benefit. Lastly, just thank you. Thank you for joining me on this 4-part series about stress. We need to talk because frankly, I want to coffee this, right? I want to be that coffee bean and I'm telling stress, we need to talk about this because I am no longer doing it your way. I want to learn how to do this differently, more effectively, and so I can be more comforted through this process. And of course, I had to finish with a lovely baby Yoda, also known as Grogu. How do you deal with stress? He likes the cookies. It's all good. All right, just for last moment, your EAP benefits and services. We are the ones who provide you those 5 confidential complimentary counseling sessions per issue per rolling calendar year. We also have wonderful work-life resources and referrals, as well as trainings and workshops. You can get a hold of us at 800-678-6265. Our partners answer that phone number 24/7, and we answer the email at eap@osumc.edu. I'm going to stop recording and open this up. Just one moment.